Hi, everybody. It's Karen, and today I wanted to talk about the NFL and domestic violence policies. People have said, including myself at one point many years ago, that you shouldn't look to the NFL to supply you with positive role models. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. I did change my line of thinking. As humans, we have a code of conduct in how we navigate life, right? There's laws that we all have to live by to keep order and peace within the society in which we live. At our jobs, there's policies and procedures in place as well. So, they must be followed in order for peace to exist and for things to flow the way they're supposed to flow. And these policies and procedures need to be followed or disciplinary actions ensue. So, why would the NFL or any other sports league for that matter be any different? They should be held to the same standards that anybody else should be held to. Whether they like it or not, these athletes are role models. They teach kids who look up to them about work ethic, teamwork, gratitude, treating teammates and coaches with respect. And they also show them how to be productive members of society. Domestic violence is a real issue and one that should be taken very, very seriously by all organizations, especially those organizations who have a platform to invoke positive change throughout the communities in which they serve and represent. Some names that we have heard throughout the years: Josh Brown, Ezekiel Elliott, O.J. Simpson, Hope Solo. Let's not leave women out of this. And Ray Rice. Ray Rice. Ray Rice's case was the case that made the NFL change their code of conduct policy. And his case sparked a change to that policy. It was a high profile case. I think a lot of us may have saw it on video. And I think that's one of the only reasons why it invoked change at that time, is because video existed and it was released to the public. People could see the horrific incident that ensued on that elevator when Ray Rice punched his fiancée in the face, knocked her unconscious, and then the video had him dragging her out of the elevator. It was horrific to see, and it made the NFL make changes to their current policy, and the public wanted them to make a change and hold Ray Rice accountable. Now, since that time, they strengthened their code of conducts and policies regarding personal conduct, and they also require twice a year training in personal conduct and domestic violence awareness. Additionally, the NFL has funded hotlines for victims. It has directed each team to form crisis response teams to assist players, employees, spouses, and significant others who may be dealing with an abusive relationship. They have teamed with multiple organizations, it's called No More and the Joyful Heart Foundation, to increase awareness of sexual assault, and they've contributed to Reliance, which is a partnership between the National Sexual Violence Resource Center and other organizations. One of the things that they did in their policy change was the punishment for domestic violence increased to a 6-game suspension and a lifelong ban for a repeat offender. The question today I ask is that enough? I personally don't think it is. Why do these professional athletes get a second chance? The statistics show from the Department of Health and Human Services and Domestic Violence Hotline, every 9 seconds, a woman is assaulted or beaten. 1 in 3 women will be abused during their lifetime. The leading cause of injury to women is domestic violence, more than car accidents, muggings, and rapes combined. 10 million kids witness domestic violence every year. Every day, more than 3 women are murdered by their husband or boyfriend. And men are twice as likely to abuse their wives if they witnessed domestic violence as a child. So with all this data that we have access to, why do these athletes get a second chance? Well, a lot of it's obvious, right? There is bias. These are professional athletes. They have some sort of celebrity. So in other in the sports and entertainment industry, 36% conviction rate amongst professional athletes, where 77% conviction rate among the general public. Money. They have money to fight their suspension in court, and it's cheaper to try and rehab these players and keep them on the roster. Fame, again, I just mentioned, they're celebrities in their own right. There's a potential loss of revenue for the NFL depending on the player, endorsement deals, product lines, etc. So that's where we are. And I think we need to invoke change all across every major sports organization. Now, do all major sports leagues have a conduct policy dealing with domestic violence? I was surprised to hear the NHL has none at all. We've already discussed the NFL. NBA has a pretty strong policy relating to domestic violence, and actually Major League Baseball has the best one out of the big four. And under that policy, the Major League Baseball commissioner has the authority to decide on the appropriate discipline. There's no minimum or maximum penalty under the policy. So the longest suspension that the commissioner ever handed down was for the Atlanta Braves outfielder Hector Olivera, and he was suspended for 82 games in 2016 for violating the domestic violence policy. I say we use the best policy that exists across the big four and make it universal across all professional sports organizations. Hold these players accountable. We're held accountable as the general population to act accordingly in life and in our jobs, and these people should be no different. And as far as us fans, it's up to us to stop turning a blind eye to those acts of domestic violence and headlines. Hold our teams and players to a higher standard. Team loyalty is one thing, but not at the expense of another human being's safety and well-being. We're all human, and we all deserve to be treated fairly. And those that do not treat people fairly should be held accountable. Just in the past 12 months alone, we have seen 5 additional arrests in the NFL for domestic violence. 2 or 3 of those arrests were dropped because the women declined to cooperate further with prosecutors. So that was the only reason their case was dropped. There was physical evidence on these women that some sort of physical altercation did ensue. However, because they declined to cooperate with prosecutors, the case was dropped. There was no further involvement with the NFL, and these players are free to continue to play and do their job with no repercussions. That shouldn't be the case. Any victim, whether they are male or female, of domestic violence should be protected and should feel that they have a voice, should feel that there will be some sort of punishment for those that hurt them. It's a shame that money and intimidation play such a huge role in these cases. It really is. Change needs to happen. Change needs to happen across the board. And it needs to happen today.